Hello, hello. Hey, what's going
Hello.
on, guys? What's up, Digital Agency Hacker family? My name is David Murillo of Digital Agency Hacker. We got our awesome Brad over here, Brad Ball from Ardent Creative, and our fellow partner at our Master Hackers Mastermind community. And we got a really, really cool episode of the Digital Agency Hacker podcast today. So if you're watching this, we're giving you kind of a little bit of a behind the scenes treat for this. Now, I'll kind of explain. So I did broadcast this everywhere today, but usually we share this in our Facebook group for digital agency owners on Facebook called Digital Agency Hacker. Okay, so we wanted to share this a little bit. I think we got this on YouTube and I think my profile and even LinkedIn. Okay, Brad's big on LinkedIn, by the way. Go follow him. What's your Brad?
Trying anyway. All my handles are I am Brad Ball.
I am Brad Ball. Even on LinkedIn, is Brad Ball? I imagine, right? Okay, Brad Ball.
I think it's still I am, so it's all. I think I changed it to the same.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys.
Instead of the Brad Ball, I thought that was a little much.
Oh, yeah. No, totally got it. So anyway, guys, we got a really cool episode for you today, and it actually spurred of a conversation I was having with somebody over one of their posts. So we'll get into that in here in a second. But again, if you're watching this and you can see the video, we're kind of giving a behind the scenes recording view, fly on the wall type of view of our podcast, the Digital Agency Hacker podcast. So I'm going to do another intro, but y'all stick around and we'll be here and you can enjoy the show. Okay. Hey guys, what's going on? Hey guys, what's going on? This is David Murillo of the Digital Agency Hacker. Welcome to the Digital Agency Hacker podcast. I got my special recurring guest today, Mr. Brad Ball from Ardent Creative, and our partner at Master Hackers, our mastermind for agency owners. Now we have a really, really cool topic we're going to talk about today. And honestly, we weren't exactly sure. We always have a big list of things to chat about, but this came up earlier today. I was having a conversation with somebody about one of their posts and some comments that kind of ensued on Facebook. And it really created a cool conversation with us. And, we had planned to make some content over it. And I'm like, hey, why don't we go ahead and list some things out and talk about this today on the podcast. So this is how to sabotage your marketing efforts. And we got a big list over here. And if y'all are tuning in, y'all want to respond or comment or anything like that, y'all have anything, please make sure you jump in here and throw some ideas out. We have a ton, but we always love getting feedback from you guys. So number one, Brad, this one was yours. Do you want to kind of jump in there with that one?
Which was number one? Oh, yeah. Not marketing at all is probably the number one way you can sabotage your marketing.
Now, why is that? No.
It's so simple. You think, oh, of course, if you don't market, you don't have any marketing. But, that kind of go into something else we talked about was, being in one specific channel and not several channels. So, that's, if you're not marketing or you're not promoting yourself, then you're sabotaging your business. And to me, that's sabotaging marketing and everything else.
Yeah. I think one of those, a good example of that I always see is everybody's like so focused on being on social and like, you got to be here, got to be on Facebook, got to be on Instagram, but they totally skip out on email or even collecting emails. And it's like, okay, what happens, like, God forbid, the Facebook algorithm or ads platform just totally, craps the bed and you can't really use it for, which has happened before, guys, if y'all don't remember. I remember, like, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, like every single messenger platform went out. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was crazy. And guys, we depend a lot on Messenger for, like, sales and stuff like that. So we definitely felt that. Luckily, it was only for a day, maybe a day and a half. But, it's one of those things where we're talking to all of our marketing buddies. And I think Slack was one of the only things that you could still use. It was really funny. And I think Twitter. I don't remember. Maybe it was Twitter. I don't remember. But it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I guess we can all go outside and play now. Like, because there was literally nothing else to do besides that. But yeah, that's a big one. So, I mean, if you if you have a fallback or are marketing on email or SMS, another platform where you can still touch your contacts, your audience, that's going to be a lot better of a bet. Also,
yeah, I mean, in the same sense of just limiting yourself, because a lot of agencies are digital agencies and they don't understand the traditional side of things, and their traditional marketing still works, like direct mail and billboards. It's a different type of marketing. Billboard, you don't get the data on it, but how many impressions or how many people are driving by. It's a brand play. And so if you're brick and mortar or you're a localized business, there are things out there that can work in some ways better than the traditional digital, just because where your customers are. And as Facebook prices go up or Google Ads prices go up, there are other options.
Okay. Yeah, I totally forget. So Brad's got a huge background in traditional marketing as well. Okay, so something related, but we didn't write this down. Is there usually, like in a print or billboard type of campaign, there's usually a digital aspect to like that campaign, right?
Yeah, usually you have everything.
If they're spending money on it, there's a way to track it, and that is one of our other points.
I mean, traditional marketing, if you think about it, or this has probably been 15 years ago, the rule of thumb was it took 3 touches before somebody recognized you. So 3 direct mail pieces. And then it took 7 before they bought something, which could seem like a lot. But in this day and age with digital marketing, you could be in the hundreds or thousands of impressions before anybody ever buys anything.
Yeah. Very true.
So,
yeah.
So what were you going to say before I jumped in there?
No. Yeah. The tracking element. So simply not tracking, which again, that can fall back into traditional as well. Like that's one of the main ways that putting a different number or a special website URL, or QR code or whatever. What are some of the different ways that I may not be?
Yeah. So we're actually doing some advertising for a local furniture store, and they're doing several ad placements. So traditional print ads in magazines specific to their target audience. And a lot of the magazines have these digital assets to them as well now. So we put a QR code and we can track it to the specific landing page. And then the publication also has pretty good tracking as well. And so if you're not tracking your data and what your spend is, then you're sabotaging your marketing.
Yeah. I mean, that's so funny. Like I feel like I came a little after the digital Facebook and everything. All that was really gaining momentum. It was just like the standard, at least when I came into it, there's some of these things like you don't even think, but yeah, dude, every newspaper open, every time they pick something off the stand like that was an impression, right? Like I get that, that's like the equivalent, right?
Yeah.
Every time they drive by, that's an impression. And of course, like, dude, you got all the data in the world that can track that. You still know how many. Now I know, like on a sales call, maybe you if you're not selling that, maybe you don't, maybe you're more like, but digital, you can track it better. Of course, that was always the argument, but yeah. So not tracking, not having data to back it up. And the big reason I think that is because you need to be able to make decisions based off this data. You need to acquire the data by tracking what you're doing. If you don't have any of that, then I mean, you could be getting results, but how are you going to improve on those results? Like, what are you going to do next? You always got to be planning ahead, especially because things could change so fast. An ad could, especially on Facebook, an ad could start, performing poorly or not as well, and your cost per lead or booked appointment or whatever you're going for could become unrealistic for you to continue doing business. So of course, always that, and here's another one too, if you do not test. So not testing is another big one. So this is something that, I mean, I've learned, especially with creatives and stuff, another huge strength with Brad, you can probably talk about this, is not testing enough or testing too many, right? Like that's a big problem.
A/B testing. Yeah, I was at an event where there were this company that actually does work for like Facebook and all the big brands, and the way the algorithms can work, you may have to have 4 different images of the same image, different shirt, different location, basically saying, or different model, and one image is going to perform better over others, and those are the ones you'd want to promote. And so you could have 10, 20, 30, 40 assets for one ad just to see what's actually working.
Yeah, yeah, and all the new, I mean, they're not new anymore, but all of the features and the settings you can leverage in platforms like Facebook make it a lot easier to load those all in, and they kind of expect that, right? You give them all the creative and everything, all the options, and then the algorithm takes that, the whole machine learning things. I mean, AI is very prevalent now, you know, in our face now. That's what it's been doing back on the back end. With these things. So yeah, it's very cool. And I mean, like it can be slight changes. We're not talking about like dramatic changes. Like one word is a good thing to test on a creative like that, correct?
Yeah, headlines. We had a client come in for a website one time, and they were A/B testing headlines for the website.
Yeah.
It took forever to build the website because they were testing so much we couldn't get it finished. We're like, okay, you need to get this website built.
Yeah.
And then iterate, because you got to get traction and data to know actually what's performing well. Testing now doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because it's I could see like their way of thinking, like, oh, we want to test like progressively, like as they go down, but like they're not going to just stop there and wait for you to test other things and then show them and then come back. No, they're going to like bounce or leave or whatever. If there's no like good call to action, you're missing opportunities there. Test the whole way through and then see where they fall off. Yeah, I like that. So okay, here's another thing.
The biggest one.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the biggest one I think for us that we've run into, whether we're marketing for ourselves or somebody else, is actually having the ability to call back within 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, wait. So, before that, before we get there, just a few more things on the testing is changing things too fast. Okay. Because I mean, if you don't give it long enough to really see and get some good traffic and data through there, you don't have anything. You just wasted that attempt, and also the resources to create whatever creative you put on it, or too many things at once. Now you don't know what the heck is working and what's not working. So doing that strategically and systematically, having a system to do that would be very effective. What do y'all do
in terms of testing graphics?
Yeah.
It's it varies based upon the client, right? So sometimes one asset, so for example, a furniture store, they're going to promote a specific piece, and then based on that piece, it's whether it's a promotional deal or things like that, it iterates. So their content's going to change because they're promoting different pieces all the time. And and that's the thing. It's constantly putting out. We're talking about social, good content. And as it relates to ad sets, it really boils down to what they really want to promote that given month. And some places may have inventory issues. And so we have a company that sells basically like Yeti, and because of some different issues and supply chain issues, they can't get tumblers in. So we don't really want to market tumblers because they don't have any inventory.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go cold on it because you still want that to be, front and center of people's minds. But at the same point, you don't want to put all your ad budget into tumblers knowing you can't fulfill it.
Very true. Very true. Hey, before we get to the other thing you were going to say, I do want to, because this one I feel like applies to everything else, and we kind of forgot. We should have put it up top. Anyway, is not knowing your customer. So if you don't know the customer, I mean, how are you going to be able to really like use the whole marketing and sales psychology techniques? All right, that all the good big copywriting names have taught us over the years. How are you going to be able to find their motivations? What's their pains, their desires? How are you going to really know how to talk to these people if you don't spend the time getting to know that customer avatar? And then also you can have more than one, right? Like speaking of the furniture store, I'm sure there's several you'll have, huh?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, with the tumblers, you're generally going to have a certain market that is hotter than others. But, in some industries, women may be the buyers versus men. And with furniture, you could assume it's predominantly women, and, they do higher end furniture. So you're targeting a specific demographic as it relates to that. But yeah, it can vary. And I think the big thing also with that is once you do know your best customer, then you can really, then you know your data and how it's working.
Yeah.
And sometimes your customer can come to life from the data, because you may think, oh, this is my direct customer. Say you're starting out and you haven't really established exactly who it is. And then times kind of shift. And so that data will also bring to light who your best customers are. And then you can associate those ad dollars to that best customer.
That's very true. The things that you learn. Yeah. And again, that comes with tracking as well, right? Like, you got to be able to track that stuff and see who's really actually contributing to revenue. So tracking purchases and sales and stuff on that end, not just on the marketing side, but the sales side as well. Okay. Love that. What about, I think we talked about not diversifying marketing channels. We touched on that a little bit, right?
Yeah, we touched a little bit on that for sure.
Okay. That could apply again. Like, I'll kind of go into that a little more. If you're too focused on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever the platform of your choice is, and forget there's a whole nother world of people and maybe different types of people, maybe different types of buyers that you may need to explore on the other platforms. So it's I think we gave the example of not using email. That is just one example. You could be also like not using TikTok, which is another great platform, or YouTube, which allows you to build a relationship with your audience in a different type of way, in a long form type of way. So very cool there. Also, it gives you an opportunity, as long as you're not bouncing around them too much too quickly and not learning the platform one at a time, like, you know, and getting better at it like you should be doing. It allows you to kind of harness the skills and focus on getting better at those platforms over time, and overall, like, growing your arsenal of potential tools. That is with your own marketing and clients as well, right? Okay. Now, this one was Brad's. I thought this was a good one. I know he loved it, but the last one, do you want to say it?
Oh, well, we haven't. Do you want me to do that one or my first one?
What was the other one? Yeah, do the other one then.
Well, the other one is not having follow-up.
Okay. Yes.
So you do all this marketing effort, whether it's for yourself or another customer, and they don't have the sales team inside or have the process to answer phone calls or know where the advertising is coming from.
Yeah.
And so we've run into this before where we're pushing leads and everything looks great on our end, and the customer says, oh, we haven't had any calls. And then we go and we look at the data and they're not answering the phones.
Yeah.
And so that's huge.
Yeah, 100%.
So we're not sabotaging marketing, but it's being sabotaged by not having that process internally to be able to handle the marketing that we're doing.
Yeah. I got a really, really good example of this. And everybody probably gets spam messages on their phone. So I think anybody can relate to this story. Somebody we know, okay, no names because it's a little embarrassing. It was a goof, right? They were having like a guest speaker on their channel or whatever, doing a live or broadcast or whatever. And they sent a text message blast out. The message did not say, okay, well, first thing is they did not nurture the list. Okay. So this was like a year later, they were texting this list. Okay. So like all those people, they probably have new cell phones. You know what I mean? Like it's probably like maybe they backed it up. I don't know, but they probably don't have the conversation. They don't know who the heck is texting them. Right. So that's number one. Number two, they didn't say who it was from. Okay. And then three, they only mentioned the guest name. So like, especially with some of the rules that are happening right now, there was like so many things that happened wrong in that, you know, in this example. And it was like, man, so because of this, they got a ton of like stop opt-outs, like all that type of stuff that like burned through like a good portion of the list. And it's like, it wasn't even a revenue generating type of event. It was something they were doing for somebody else's launch or something like that, as a favor, friends, whatever. And because of that mistake, I think what would have corrected it, one, maybe a little less like salesy spammy because I saw the message. Two, if they would have just said who the heck it was from, because now it looks like with them only messaging about the people that are on the event, now it looks like they randomly got their number and are texting them. So that's a good example of that one right there. I mean, not following up with this list, not nurturing the list, so where they know who's texting them at least. I mean,
And not communicating correctly.
correct. All of that, man. Like, obviously, you got to gauge your audience, and then you can do it too. You can overdo it for sure. But I mean, there's some times where I will send a little graphic, even with the text message. Or there's also sometimes where it's like a 1-word message, or like a 1-line, like 5-word message, or something like that. So again, I can tell you exactly what we put, and you'd be like, "Oh, cool, that's the script." But it's not going to work if like you don't test this stuff and figure it out yourself. Again, like whether it's for your clients, a plumbing or an HVAC business, or a florist, or whatever it may be, or for your own marketing agency. If you're not willing to test your own stuff, there's no point in me giving you like our things that work just for us, especially when you have people out there making mistakes like that. That was a very interesting example that I had heard about. So, okay, the last one. You want to do that one?
I can do that one.
All right.
Over promising and under delivering. So
how can this affect us?
How can it? Well, that's pretty easy. It's like, I mean, if you promise X, Y, Z and you can't fulfill it, then you're going to have a bad customer for, they're not going to stay around. So depending on what you're selling, if it's monthly recurring revenue and they last a month, that doesn't benefit you any. And so how do you communicate what you're actually offering so they understand, and then get them in the funnel forever? And that goes back into the customer journey, right? Okay. They're in, we provide value. Once that starts to waver, because as with every client, that may waver at some point. How do you then turn them into advocates, and so on and so forth? And this also leads into one thing that popped in my head a second ago, is you talk about email. And when you have a customer, continually marketing to them once they're in your system, once they are a customer and once they're using you, a lot of times, they're customers. No, you need to nurture that. And so you need to market to your own database. And that's one way you can sabotage your marketing, by not marketing to current customers as well. So
very true.
Because they're advocates. But back to the over-promising, under-delivering, I think that most people are going to know what that means to them. And so, we've learned in some ways the hard way about, we can do that. And so, but early on,
we can do that too. Yeah.
And usually we deliver, but just to, there's some pain points there. But I remember years ago, pre-Facebook days, people would promise, we'll get you on page 1 of Google, no problems. And we never saw people do it. And so we shied away from it until we hired somebody that was really good at it, and we saw results from it. And so we wouldn't overpromise saying, we're going to guarantee your page 1, without knowing that we can actually deliver.
Yeah. That is a very, very good point. Also, I feel like, with this comes into like your reputation, you know what I mean? So even if you didn't overpromise and underdeliver, there could just be like a bad situation where you need like damage control or something like that. And if it's mishandled, then obviously that's a danger to you and your business, your reputation, all that type of stuff. I find that over time, just because of normally the people that we'll have on board, that's not like their expertise, like damage control. You know what I mean? Sometimes they end up growing that skill, but it's like, hopefully we're not having the problems consistently to where that skill needs to really be harnessed. You know what I mean? Like hopefully we're not doing bad enough to where that's like a super good need, but it's good to have. Now, I did notice that, especially when we were doing a lot of implementations, that was something needing to jump on, because it was a very technical type of product, systems, automations involved. And there was like assets needing to be collected. So very much oftentimes, like I feel like you can't communicate enough on those type of things, especially when it's something that the people who are buying it don't exactly understand. And that's part of the reason they're paying you money to solve the problem for them, because they have the money, the budget is there, They have the customers, they want the solution, but like you need to be able to like big picture it in a way to where like it solves all the other little problems, but it doesn't have to, they don't have to come down to this level and start like looking at the checklist and everything like that, because then they start diving into something they don't even understand, and it wastes a bunch of time for everybody. It basically puts like an additional QA step in there, but like with them.
Communication is key.
That damage control. Oh, yes, Siri, hold on. But that damage control, that if handled poorly, like obviously that they're going to remember the last interaction, the last situation, great or poor situation. And that's what their feedback, whether it's online review or to their friends or talking about you like at a group or whatever, mastermind online on Facebook in the comments or whatever. You just don't want that, you know, added, you know, bringing your reputation down. So I would say that is definitely associated with it. Well, I think that's it, man. Anything we forgot?
Oh, I'm sure we could probably talk about this for, you know, another 20 minutes, but then people might just disappear.
How to sabotage your marketing. Yeah, I definitely feel, guys, if you're listening to this, you're watching, you have any other funny things of how you've seen people sabotage their own marketing? One was on the brand voice. We're going to have to get to that on another thing. We're almost out of time. So that brand voice thing, though, that could be really good. Think of Wendy's, okay? And then we'll come back to you on the next one. All right, guys, let me go ahead and pull this off. If y'all want to catch another episode, just check out the Digital Agency Hacker podcast. Also, make sure you jump in our free Facebook group for agency owners. We just had a really cool challenge. So if you want to get into that, make sure you jump in on the membership there. If you can see me, it is right there below in the URL, somewhere over there. And all right, cool. Catch